Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high, cause St. Louis is ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold up, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live, somebody. Let's go.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys are all doing well out there. I hope this video finds you in good spirits. Real talk, because we had a fairly heavy conversation a little bit ago about another topic that we definitely needed to talk about. And so I appreciate you guys for being here and being a part of this one as well. I do have some really great people coming on with me to discuss these topics and whatnot, or this particular topic. You see the title down below, or you see it right above you wherever you're watching this show right here. And it's definitely something that happened yesterday, which was pretty wild, pretty shocking. And the world is very reactionary, okay? Very reactive to this news. And so there's an ongoing question I have for a lot of you guys about this. And I will be asking you guys this throughout the course of the show. I'm not going to say it yet. I'll be asking it throughout the course of the show, okay? But as you can see, we got some big news revolving around the Emmitt Till tragedy, okay? And we have got to talk about this because this is a story we can't just let go by. This was something that was the start of the civil rights movement, etc. There's so much that is behind the unaliving of this 14-year-old boy who was accused of whistling and accosting a Carolyn Bryant at that time that caused him to lose his life. It's pretty wild and pretty shocking, that story nonetheless. But now that person who accused him of doing those things has now passed away, and the world is reacting to it greatly. So we're going to talk about that. We have some articles we're going to look at. We got two good friends that are going to be gracing us with their beautiful presence throughout this conversation. And we have a statement made by Emmitt Till's family, okay? A family member of Emmitt Till speaking on the reaction of this news about Carolyn Bryant passing, which is also very shocking as well. So we got some things to get into. All right. So before you get into everything, please do me a favor. Before we get into everything, please do me a favor. Some housekeeping. Hit that like button down below. Send it past 300 likes. That would really, really mean a lot. Okay. And do not forget to hit that subscribe button. You know for a fact I talk about everything on this channel. It's not only just true crime stuff. We talk about everything on this channel. Everything that matters. Everything that needs to have a conversation sparked. Okay, we talk about it right here on the Pascal Show. So please be sure to crush that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, okay, so that you know whenever I go live or whenever I upload, because it be random, okay? And of course, if you want to hit that join button down below, that'd be greatly appreciated. Anyway, we got to get into some things, guys. We got to get into some things. Like I said, we got a lot to unfold here. It's one big main topic, which I want to show you guys the title of this real quick, of this article really fast before I bring in our some of our friends, some of our panelists for the day. Okay. So white woman, Carolyn Bryant. I'm just reading the title. So white woman whose claim caused Emmitt Till's M has passed. Her name again was Carolyn Bryant Dunham, okay? She was in a store. This young black boy, Emmitt Till, 14 years old, allegedly, at that time, she claimed that he whistled at her, that he made advances towards her. Her husband and her husband's half-brother didn't like hearing that information. Went on a full-on manhunt, found this young boy, terrorized him, brutally terrorized him, tortured, and ended up lynching this young man. Now, of course, we already know about the family, the mother, Mamie, when she found out how her son had passed on, she ended up using this opportunity, the funeral, as an opportunity to basically show the real truth of what happened to her son by opening up and keeping that casket open so that everyone could see the harsh realities of what these men did to her son. Those men in court were later acquitted. They were found not guilty. They went and walked free for their actions on what they did to this young boy. We got a lot to get into, but I do want to say, before I bring in one of our friends of the show, again, years later, many, many years later, this woman finally comes out and tells the truth and says the accusations that she had on young 14-year-old innocent Emmitt Till were false. Now, of course, there has been a huge campaign on trying to get charges on her, trying to open up a case. Actually, the case was open and never really actually closed. There were paperwork, there were documents that they were trying to get her to get to her years ago that just sat on a table. They never got to her. But a judge decided not to continue with the case. It just sat. And it still was sitting until her very last breath on this earth. So I'm going to ask you guys now, real quick, before I bring in my first good friend and panelist of the show, for the show, was justice ever served for Emmitt Till? I know. There's a lot of people out here that are going to sit there and go, may she burn in hell and all that stuff. I get it. Trust me. I get it. I get the anger and vitriol. I'm right there with you. Okay. But I want to know your thoughts. Was justice ever served for Emmitt Till and the Emmitt Till family? Here to join me before we get into all this stuff. All right. I have he's been on the show before. He's back again. It's been a minute. Please welcome our good brother, Justin, on TikTok. What's up, man? How you doing, my brother?
I am great, Pascal. Thank you for having me. As I texted you, I think when she died, I said I wanted to do this because I'm one of those people that think that she should rot in hell. And to answer your question, I don't think justice was ever served. In fact, it was a travesty of justice. When they had an opportunity, they squandered it.
They most definitely did, man. They most definitely did. I mean, there was obvious opportunities they could have struck on years ago. When this biography came out, where she admitted to lying about saying that's not at all how it went down, they could have done something about it, but they did nothing. They just let that information just sit. Let everybody sit there, obviously stirring with frustration, anger, and vitriol, and they did nothing. The courts did nothing. Now, the question is it because she was too old to face this crime? One thing I'll say is, you know that there were, and there still are, for what I know, Nazi generals, Nazi soldiers.
Over 100 years old.
Over 100 years old that are still facing charges that are shown. There was one at least last year.
Camp guards. Yeah.
Say again.
Yeah, camp guards. People not even that high up.
Yes.
They're still prosecuting.
They're still prosecuting. Exactly. They're still prosecuting men that are over a century old. Okay. And yet this situation, when she admits to lying, she admits that that's not how it all went down and that, no, he didn't do any of those things. She was still a free woman. She still was able to live life, have children, leave a legacy behind, and most importantly, be free.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, man? What are your thoughts?
Well, I have lots of thoughts. So first of all, usually when I talk about, I live in the South, I live in Tennessee. And usually when you talk about states like Mississippi, people who live there can get angry about it, and that's fine. But let's talk about the reality of it. You're talking about a state that still wishes Jim Crow in a lot of places was a thing. In fact, they've recently been trying to enact some of the laws from that era. Every time an Emmitt Till plaque or monument is put up, they have to replace it almost annually because people shoot it. About a year ago, a little over a year ago, they found an unserved warrant from 1955 for Carolyn Bryant Donham and it went unserved because the police didn't want to bother her because she had 2 boys at home. And it was found by, the Till Foundation, by Emmitt's family, and they begged for them to serve it. And, I'll be honest, that's when I actually first learned about the story because, we like to whitewash history, right? And I grew up in the South. So God forbid they talk about the travesties of everything that happened. So I didn't know about the story, but when I did it's one of those things, one of the few things that I've covered that enrages me to my core. It's so incredibly angering. But going back to the warrant, because I see people making comments on it, they found a warrant in a basement that was never served. I forget exactly what it was for, but they were like, let's serve it. I got on social media. Let's serve it. I called Jackson in the AG's office myself. I almost got into the point of let's fly a banner like we did with Gabby Petito over the courthouse in Jackson. And ultimately what they did is they called a grand jury together and decided that they were not going to pursue it any further. And the thing about it is to me, it is a slap in the face to Emmitt Till, his legacy, to the Black community of Mississippi, and even to history of Mississippi, saying that, hey, we've not really gotten better, because if we were, we would at least symbolically charge her, even if she never was brought in. If she was symbolically charged, it would have at least been something. But they chose to do absolutely nothing. And to me, that says that it's not a whole lot different than it was in 1955.
I mean, nothing's changed in my personal opinion. I mean, it just seems like everyone's still just trying to maintain, this status quo, whatever it is, and just in hopes that this will just fly under the radar, which I think is absolutely ridiculous and just ridiculous. I'm trying to be a gentleman. You know what I'm saying?
Hard.
I got things to say, but I'm trying to be a gentleman right now. Okay.
It was a child. He was a child.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This was a 14-year-old kid. It was a boy. It was a kid. Okay. He did nothing wrong. And there's proof now. She admitted that there was no wrongdoing on his end. It's ridiculous. But I do want to bring in another person. We got a good friend of ours as well. And actually, I'm glad you and Justin, you're going to meet a really great girl. Okay. Olay, what's up?
Hi. Hey, everybody. Thank you for having me. It's my first time on Pascal's show. I was supposed to have been on here, but finally.
Let me just say it is I have been trying to get you on this show for a minute, but you've been busy, but I've been busy. We all been busy, but it's really great that I got two. Sorry, I'm talking about myself in the third person. Two really great people in this panel to talk about this. So, Olay, can you please tell everybody a little bit about yourself real quick? Because, Justin, you're a familiar face with everybody, but Olay, I don't think people know you from this platform. So can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Hi, my name is Olayemi Olurin. You can call me Olay. Normally I have a beat face, but you just deal with my natural face today. I am a movement lawyer and a political commentator. I do a public defender. I represent poor people accused of crimes. I am an advocate. I'm a professional loudmouth. That's the quickest way to be it. You can find me on my socials. Olurinati is my YouTube show and channel that I recently launched. So you can find me there. I just put out a video actually right before I hopped on here. So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Nice. Again, thank you so much again. Wow, this is cool. I've never had three people cool. on the panel. So yay, look at that. CNN. You know, what's up, Don Lemon? So real quick, Ole, I gotta ask you on your thoughts on this whole situation. I know you just hopped on, so you may not be fully caught up on what we talked about. But what are your thoughts on this new information about Carolyn Bryant being passing, and do you feel that the Till family ever really received any type of justice in this situation?
Of course they didn't. I mean, of course they didn't. What does justice look like? I mean, at the end of the day, there's nothing that you can do to right the wrong of murdering a child. There is no justice that could have been given, even in a world where this woman had been made to answer for her crimes or go to jail. They still wouldn't get any justice. That I don't think that's available to them. And in the case of this, you know, we have a lot of conversations where it's like, you know, it's the innocent child, it's an innocent. Yeah, but it doesn't matter because the crime is being Black. It's not like it has never hinged on how much they believe what she said. That was a time period, just like, you know, I heard Justin talk earlier, is this is a place where this happened. Even in present day times, they would love to take it back there. So it's not a matter of, that's why they still, despite the fact that they know the information, they still shoot up the sign, because the reality is that's what they used to do. This is from the times they lynch Black people, they murder Black people. That was what happened to Emmitt Till, what made that so groundbreaking, or like launch a movement for a community, is what his mother was able to do, and how she went about it and how she responded to it. But the reality is what they did to Emmitt Till, they've done many, many times before him, and they did many, many times after, because it never had anything to do with the accusations. That's why it didn't matter to them that she lied, because for them, that's just an excuse, a justification for them to go run about and do something that they would be all too willing and enthusiastic to do. So we're just looking at racism. That's all it is.
I mean, it definitely is all about just the color of his skin. He just happened to show up and be Black that day. And the thing is okay, real quick, because I did see somebody in the chat, Jeffrey Wilson, what's up, man? Been a long time. He said he did whistle at her. He didn't touch her, though. Now, okay, here it is, though. If he did whistle at her, or if he didn't whistle at her, we do know that she did retract. She did recant the things that were said, the accusations that she did say that about him accosting her and stuff, right? Yeah. So regardless if he whistled or not, that still doesn't justify this young boy being brutalized and lynched and
that's the problem when you let white supremacists frame a conversation, right? It becomes about, because the reality is, if you allowed us to live in a civil society, even if he had, think about that. Think about the level of dehumanization that you're thinking a child can't whistle at a woman, or if he had touched her, that would make it okay. Like, let's say he did do it. Let's say he did all that. Let's say he whistled at her, he touched her, and he cursed out in the place. Would it still do? Would we co-sign a world where a woman turns around and has a mob of people kidnap and murder a young boy?
Not at all.
Exactly. So it don't
let me share a couple things too for viewers, because I think that, you know, we're talking about the South, and, you know, fortunately, if a lot of people in here didn't experience that, I mean, yes, obviously there is still a lot of issues with racism throughout the country, but specifically the South. But I just watched the other day the Chris Rock comedy special, and he got serious from it. He was talking about his mom, saying his mom was born, I think, 44, 45 in South Carolina. And because she was Black, she was not allowed to go see a white dentist. And so as a Black girl, a child, they had to go to the vet. And the reason I'm bringing this up is you were talking about dehumanization. That's all that is. It's dehumanization. Yeah. She's not worth the same as a human being, so she has to go to a vet. And the other thing that I've learned, so I am 50% Jewish. I had family that was exterminated in Auschwitz. And so talking about that for a moment, to talk about how truly bad Jim Crow era South was, to really put this in perspective. Adolf Hitler thought that Jim Crow laws would be a great basis for the Third Reich. And he sent his attorneys over to study them. And specifically talking about the one drop rule, which for those of y'all who don't know what the one drop rule is, it means if you have one drop of Black blood in you, you cannot marry anybody that's white. Adolf Hitler thought that was too racist. Let that sink in. That Adolf Hitler thought that some of the Jim Crow laws were too racist.
Funny mustache man thought it was too wow.
Too racist.
Is this opposite day? Like what?
That's the thing. I think that, it's people think that we're so far from it, but there's still a lot of people living there. And even once the civil rights movement happened, it still isn't equal. It still wasn't equal then. So there's still plenty of people that this is not that long ago that this happened. If you really
I also think something I think that's important in a conversation that you don't hear as much is people being held responsible for what they know their choices can bring about regardless. Because at the end of the day, even in a world, like I said, even in a world where she knew what was going to happen, she still knows what the consequence, what will happen to this boy if she goes and says something. And so you're not absolved from what events you put into motion regardless, right? Like in a present day, that's something we always think about is, I'm not going to call the police in a scenario like this, or, because if the police come and they do this particular thing, that happens, and then that's on your conscience. You are responsible to be aware of certain things. And that's in a theoretical where I don't know the police. I'm not in tangent, let alone this is my husband and these mob and these kinds of people. So I think when you think about this, the same kind of thought process that goes into that with white women weaponizing the ability to call, in this case, it's not the police, but they're just agents. It's all one and the same in this particular time, in this Emmitt Till situation. That's not much different than when you see all of the Karens, right? All of the Karens calling the police and doing all these things that become a part of our social media phenomenon of them doing. Exactly. So I think it is important that we call on in general, like stop treating them as though they are absolved from the circumstances they knowingly put into play. They put it into motion regardless. So for me, it's never really been about, I've never cared as much about what Carolyn Bryant said or whether or not she recanted or what she did or was true there, because at baseline, that you could get that boy killed. You know what it is that you're putting into motion, and you know what you were okay bringing about regardless of any other circumstances. And I put that is the way I place the responsibility on her regardless of anything else.
And I agree with you. And I think even more so, not even the possibility, she knew what her husband and brother-in-law were capable of. There's no way that she didn't. And she let that happen.
And she was likely present is a thing historic.
Yeah, I've heard that she was in the car. I've heard that. So
yeah, I've heard the story about her being in the car as well. But of course, that's the thing is she just, and this is just posing the question for the question's sake. Okay. I am not on this before anybody gets it twisted. Okay. Who is more to blame? The one who did the crime or the one who pointed the finger?
Equal. She did the crime.
I would agree, because the wheels would have been set into motion if she hadn't done it.
Yeah. That's just the reality of it. And, we understand that on a lesser scale, right? Like a recent conversation I saw on Twitter was girls talking about when like the earliest, how old they were when men first started making advances at them. And I saw a lot of women my age talk about how when they first saw stuff like that happen, they waited until they got home to tell their father some man did it in public, because they didn't want their daddy to react and get himself locked up because he went and beat up somebody or something like that. But we are all aware. We go about in our own life making decisions based on how we know people around us respond to certain things. I'm not going to tell you that then. I'm not going to tell you that like this because you might do this, She knows. At the end of the day, she knows. And it's not just a circumstance where she happened, you tell them something and then they went and did this and that's out of your. She knows what it is she was supposed to bring about. We knew that then, just like we know present day that white women are aware of what happens when they make a call. You know what I'm saying? So she knew that. She was present for it. It's her. They're equally responsible, because I don't see her as any less complicit in the actions that brought about his murder. And the law wouldn't. Let's look at it like that. If we were looking at it as accomplice theory, anything like it, if a group of people go kidnap a boy and y'all all kill him, everybody's going down on felony murder. She is very much so a part of it. She pointed him out. She went with them to kidnap the boy. She's in the car while he's murdered. She's a part of it. The law would look at it as that. So yeah. It's equal.
So then let me ask you this then real quick, because I guess that's one piece I don't have clear for myself, and maybe for other people out here in these YouTube streets and wherever they're watching this show. Hit that like button. Don't forget to crush that subscribe button as well. That'd be greatly appreciated, especially if you appreciate this discussion. But what was the thing that inspired her to lie in the first place, guys? What was it that made her go, hey, this 14-year-old black kid whistled at me and try to make advances at me? He was aggressive. Why would this woman make this up? Does anyone know?
Well,
what was the thing that set it off?
Well, I guess you don't know 100%, but supposedly it was because she just didn't want to work in her husband's store. That's what I've heard.
Wait, I'm sorry. What?
That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's true. That's what I've heard. I've not fact checked that, but that's what I've heard. Is that it was they owned the store and she didn't want to work. She didn't want to be there. So this was her way. Her way to get out of it was like, oh, look, this black person is making advances on me, is being inappropriate. And she didn't care about the outcome of the circumstances. She didn't care what happened to him as long as she got what she wanted.
And that's something. Yeah, that's
wow.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that like monsters don't exist in a vacuum, right? Like there's no world in which you think is a house full of raging white supremacists that are so racist that they go and kidnap a black boy to go and brutally murder him, and they don't care. No, at no point in time in history have they ever cared about what they learned to be true or not true, because that's how they give it up. There's no reason to assume that the monster that lays with him, that lives a life with him, is any less of a white supremacist, not interested in bringing about the same results. The reality is, this is from a time period where lynchings were fun to them. People literally, white people would gather at lynchings. They would have riot mobs form. They would kidnap children. They would murder them. They would have lynchings. They would make postcards out of it. They would fry up body parts. Why is it surprising? You know what I mean? We don't even have to do an intellectual inquiry or deep dive into why she did it. She did it because she don't care about him. They don't matter. That was literally for sport. They tortured black people as a matter of how they lived their life. That's the world we lived in. And as a matter of fact, let's not forget, the world we live in presently is not much different, because we see there's a reason why people feel the way they felt about old girl who called 911 on the bird caller in Central Park, on the bird watcher, and all these different instances, because we
Central
know
Park,
what
Karen.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Just because we live in a time where we can social media it up and call them Karens and make it seem so much less dangerous because we're not getting that Emmitt Till result, but it's the same. So instead, we need to not look at her, because we don't know her. We don't have the benefit of a time period where she was being recorded in this interaction and we see her personality, and you wonder, you're like, what was this lady like? Maybe she ain't know that. Picture her with the same level of evil and venom you've seen out of every single Karen on every video. Have they ever given you the impression in any of those videos that they care anything about what's true or not? In fact, they make the calls knowing they're lying. They know it. She knew she was lying from the jump. She knew what it was. And it's because it's an opportunity to lord themselves over a group of people that they see themselves as not only above, but they see as subhuman. That's all it is. She's a white supremacist.
And Olay is 100% correct. You see, if you like, I follow that Donish guy, and I don't know if you do, but you should if you don't. He, his whole platform is calling these people out, and he'll show videos of like literally these Karens, these white women. There's one I'm thinking of, a very recent one, where this white woman is literally going after a black woman, making things up as she calls the police, things that are not happening. And this woman is recording all of it.
Oh, so
there's literally making it up.
Yeah, my brother. I mean, I it's so sad because that's a tale as old as time. Like I feel like we've heard that. Like it's just thankful. Like I get that these new devices are there's a lot of pros, there's a lot of cons, but there's a lot of pros to it, because we get to capture them. These moments of people doing straight up evil or straight up lying through their ass while they're dialing 911. So it's sad, but it is true that we're seeing those kind of things every day still. But please continue, Justin.
Well,
I'm sorry for cutting you off.
And the thing is too, and if you are black, typically getting the police out there is not going to go well for you.
Exactly.
It's not. Look at Tyree Nichols. That's a really public
great example
one. It's not going to go well because systemic racism does exist, despite what other people who look like me think. It does, and it's a problem. And these people know it. The people who make these false accusations, they know it. They know that the law is going to be on side because of the white. Somebody said it in the comments, because of the white privilege.
Facts.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, we're not trashing all white people. I just want to make that abundantly clear.
Yeah.
We are not. Okay. We're just talking. There's a lot of bad people in every race. Okay, in every shape and form. We're just talking about the specific people that happen to be white in these videos that are out here doing bad things. They just happen to be white at that time. Okay. Just to make that abundantly
They were probably white
clear.
all the time, though.
Again,
that time. I'm making a joke, but anyway, bad joke.
But it's all good. But one thing I do want to pull up is there is this video that I wanted to share with everybody so we can all watch this together. We're going to watch a little snippet of it. This is the biographer of the blood of Emmitt Till. the one that actually had the interview with Carolyn, where she basically admits to straight up lying, not telling the truth at all. So this is from Good Morning America or CBS this morning. So I wanted to share this really quick because there is another piece that I want to get into about the legal side of things, and that's where I'd love to get Olay's thoughts on that here in just a minute. Let's take a listen to this, guys. Hit the number one. Let me know you guys can hear this. So let's rock and roll.
My name, and that had given it to her mother-in-law, and that who was Carolyn Bryant, who I knew had not given an interview since 1955, hadn't said a public word about what had happened. And so I went to interview her. I wasn't working on a book about this.
Yeah.
I'm a historian, so I was going to interview her and put it in the archive. And
what's so shocking is to hear, because we've all heard the gory details, that he whistled at her, that he made a sexual advance towards her. And all these years later, she says what to you?
She said, with respect to the anything physical assault on her or anything menacing or sexual, that part isn't true. And
because she claims that he grabbed her by the waist, that he held her, that he wouldn't let her go, that he touched her hand, and she says that is not true.
Right. But touched her hand when they exchanged money for candy.
Yeah.
You know, I think maybe so, but I don't know about that.
Had she been living this in a horrific way, knowing that she?
Yeah. Well, she's far from the most.
Sorry, I just think that's funny that he can't even say that he can't even finish the sentence that she lied. But let me just finish this little piece with what this biographer is saying here.
Important victim in the story, of course, but yeah, she had
not told the truth.
It's obviously been a great burden.
Someone was
and a pain.
Brutally.
She thought about Mamie a lot.
Mamie is Emmitt's mother.
She lost Emmitt's mother. She lost a son herself later, and she said always thought about Mamie.
So why did she decide finally to make the call?
Well, I can't read her mind. I'm not sure.
You talked to her.
But I did. Yeah, my sense was that she wanted to unburden herself. She also wanted to tell her story. She was, for posterity.
What did she?
Okay, so she wanted to tell her story for posterity. You know what? I'm going to throw it over to Olay. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, just reacting to what the biographer said about her admitting that she lied. Now, he didn't say, just a quick piece real quick. He never said that she said that he didn't whistle. So I have yet to hear anything saying that he did whistle. Okay, that's the only piece I'm going to say about that. But the most important part is that he did not accost her. He did not put his hands on her. He did not get at her. So, Olay, what are your thoughts on that?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't know why we allow white people to and racists to tell us what they believe is a legitimate standard, and then we start trying to adopt their standard. That's how you lose things. It doesn't matter. If you live in a civil society in a country, the punishment isn't that. Even if he had done what they said he did, it doesn't matter. It's immaterial. You know what I'm saying? Like us constantly for decades, this kid was brutally murdered decades ago, just constantly rehashing whether or not she admitted what she admitted to was the lie. It doesn't matter. It's only a white supremacist structure that allows them to assert something like, hey, a 14-year-old boy touched me and whistled at me, and so that's why I had my husband and all his pals murder him. So are we hearing this? It doesn't matter. It really is immaterial. And I think we just need to look at this when we think about what a criminal system is and why she was never punished and nothing happens, because the reality is she's not the only woman. She's not the only old racist person that has done all kind of racist, insidious things and sat around and continued to live their days without the criminal system punishing them, because the criminal system has never been there to handle people. Like, the criminal system is there to maintain and uphold white supremacy. That's why they can murder this boy and everybody be fine, but then they never serve the warrant on her. Right? Because the system does not frown on that. The problem has never been that this boy was killed. They've never felt that way. That's why you've never seen the legal system step in. So that's just a reflection of it,
Justin, thoughts?
I don't disagree with anything that she's saying, and I think that Emmitt Till's obviously a very famous case, but there are hundreds, if not probably thousands, of cases like this, throughout the civil rights movement and even before that, where people were never held accountable for the things that they did. Again, Carolyn Bryant was 88, that's not, there's a lot of people that are 88 and older and younger within that range. There's still a lot of people from that era that are still alive. A lot of people's grandparents have blood on their hands, whether they know it or not. And there's a lot of people that never got punished, because even when, I forget exactly what the rule was, but even after the passing of the Civil Rights Act, they started going back and trying some cases. They had a whole panel doing that. And they got through very, very, very few of them. So it's never, the punishment doesn't fit the crime. Like she said, like Ole said, even if he did whistle, even if he grabbed her, even if he punched her in the face, which he, what they put that child through was brutal. It was horrific, and it was inhuman. Nobody deserves that. Nobody.
There is no world, there's no point in time in American history, including right up today, that a white boy can whistle at a black woman or do anything derogatory to a black woman and be accused of the same things. And a group of black people, a black woman could go then have a husband, and a group of black men kidnap him out his bed and murder him, and anybody would debate or give or care at all for 1 second, for a shred of time, even hear the story on what he's accused of doing. And so I think it is a mistake on us to constantly allow them, as an attorney, whoever loses, the person who frames the argument is the person who wins, regardless. The minute you allow them to frame the language, what is legitimate, something like that, you've lost, the person who's responding. And so it is literally a function of white supremacy and how we get lost in this, to continue rehashing their justification they presented that would have never been a justification, because it just wouldn't be. Think about it. When I said that scenario reverse, could you think of anything in history? Could you think of even one example that comes close to it? But we could think of a lot of examples. I can give you world present day examples of scenarios that lead to what happened to Emmitt Till. I could even tell you other things like it. I could throw out George Stinney and all kind of people like that, make the comparison between how America treated George Stinney versus how they treated a white boy, Jesse Pomeroy. We've seen it many times, situations like Emmitt Till, but we'll never see the reverse. And that's how I know we need not even bother to discuss be as invested in the truth of it all and how our feelings and what our thought is, and really just accept this as a vile example of how white supremacy functions, and how white supremacy will never be punished by a system and a legal system that is there to maintain it.
Well, I'll give you something even a little bit more with that kind of definitely plays off what you're saying, and I think shows it. If you look at, I'm thinking like somebody like Ethan Crumbley, who shot up a school in Michigan. When you have the school shooters that survive, and we're talking about the white ones, which is the majority of them, and you compare, which is absolutely heinous crimes, and you compare it to literally anything a black person does, and watch the way when the people are still alive, they don't take their own lives, they don't get in a shootout with the police. The way that police treat them. Look at how Tyree Nichols was treated when he was pulled out of his car in Memphis by cops who were black also, compared to the way that Ethan Crumbley was arrested. They're treated very, very differently.
It's drastically different. It's drastically different. And that person is a monster. Okay. Yeah. That Ethan Crumbley is a monster. He went out there and he did those things, took the lives of many, many young kids, terrorized the whole school, all that stuff, man. Yeah.
And that's one of many. Right. That's one of many examples. I mean, I'm just showing you because they're two very well-known ones right now, but there are a lot of examples like that. It's like I said, it goes back to systemic racism in the system, and until you can, get rid of that, which is a very hard thing to do. One thing else that I've talked about this before, because, I use my platform oftentimes, and we talk about oppressed groups. We talk about standing up, for minorities, women, people of color, Native Americans, etc. And, when police go do target practicing, they use silhouettes that are black or use, targets that are black. When we were training soldiers, I say we like I did it, but when the U.S. was training soldiers to go over to the Middle East after 9/11, they were using targets that looked like people from that area. And all that does is desensitizes the police, the military, whoever, to be able to shoot and kill those people a whole lot easier.
Do you talk to your audience, Pascal?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
I do.
Giovanna Di Stefano in the comments, she continues to say, "Oh, I am racist, or I am awful." Let me ask you something, Giovanna. We are discussing, let me just in case you're missing the context. Decades ago, a 14-year-old was brutally kidnapped and murdered by a group of admit, like, I don't think there's any other way to characterize them as anything other than racist or white supremacists. And I'm commenting on and condemning the murder of that 14-year-old boy. How is it possible that in this story, as we are discussing how the woman that lied on him and led to his murder and who was never punished or held accountable has passed away without ever so much as a single day as offering an apology or anything? What is your beef with me? Explain to me how I am the racist in the scenario and not the woman or any of the white supremacists that murdered the 14-year-old boy. Could you maybe articulate that, Giovanna? Oh,
Giovanna's leaving basically because they didn't want to hear your comments.
Yes,
just like
exactly.
Else. And here's the thing that I discovered, being, a creator on TikTok, there's often people who have a whole lot of big things to say and they hide behind no profile pictures. They hide behind nothing. There's another person that said he was going to unsubscribe because it was race baiting.
Yeah, and he's never gonna click on my videos ever again. But that's the thing. I mean, we're here to talk about these conversations. We're here to bring truth and bring light to discussions and things that are happening to people. It's not just missing people out here that have had unjustifiably terrible things happen to them. There's a lot of unjust that's happened decades ago that never got any justice. So I don't understand why people are getting upset talking about the harsh realities of what's really going on in the world. But go ahead.
The topic makes people uncomfortable. And good. I say good. Be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because these are conversations that should be having, because it doesn't end until more of these conversations happen and people understand. The way I look at it, if I sit there and somebody, again, who looks like me comes up and starts saying things about a different race or a group of people, marginalized group of people, and I say nothing, then I am no better than they are because I'm allowing it to happen. So, it takes people having these conversations and standing up against these types of things. And here's the thing. If you're somebody who can't sit here and listen to this conversation because it makes you uncomfortable, then you're the people that we're talking about.
And I think we have to acknowledge the reality, right? They have a specific problem with who they hear it from, because I came into this conversation late, and this conversation was carrying on the same time when a white man, Justin, was saying all of the same things, and you've sat here and agreed and echoed all of my sentiments, but their only issue with in the comments is me. They don't like the Black woman's attitude. Oh, as they can't spell, they question your qualifications, right? Oh, this person is an attorney, as they can't even grammatically put together their critique or express what their issue is. But they don't like my attitude. They don't like me. Oh, I'm racist. And it's nothing more but the continued racism and microaggression, because God forbid this Black woman sit up here and condemn the racists and the white supremacists unapologetically. God forbid I don't laugh and try to make it cute and sensitive and all that for you. Yeah, so, y'all gonna be all right.
I mean, it is. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We're gonna be doing. Hey, I'm gonna talk about what I need to talk about, because there's stories out here that I give a damn about, and some of you guys give a damn about those stories too. Majority of you guys do, and this one I give a damn about. So I'm talking about it, and if you guys are not comfortable with it, you can always log off and come back to a show that you give a damn about. It's all good. But at the end of the day, we are going to be talking about this, and we got to keep it moving. So back off into the story here at hand. There is some stuff that I wanted to get your opinion on, some legal opinion on, Ole, and it has to do with this this little bit here. Now, about 2 years ago, or about a year ago, the family was trying to get they were trying to indict they were trying to indict Carolyn Bryant. And the funny thing or the wild thing is that it didn't go through. So the Lafleur County grand jury last week heard 7 hours of testimony from investigators and witnesses, but there was insufficient evidence to indict Carolyn Bryant on charges of kidnapping and manslaughter, according to a statement from the district attorney, Richardson. The grand jury heard the testimony from the witnesses detailing the investigation of the case from 2004 to the present day, and considered both charges according to the statement. So they said in a statement, after hearing every aspect of the investigation and evidence collected regarding Dunham's or Carolyn's involvement, the grand jury returned a quote-unquote no bill to the charges of both kidnapping and manslaughter in this statement. They also said the unaliving, or the M of Emmitt Till, remains an unforgettable tragedy in this country, and the thoughts and prayers of this nation continue to be with the family of Emmitt Till. What are your thoughts on this piece right here? They sat several hours trying to get them to say, yes, we are going to press charges. We are going to at least throw kidnapping and manslaughter on Carolyn Bryant for her involvement in this whole situation, but none of it stuck. What are your thoughts on this, Olay?
I recently wrote an essay called "The Law Won't Save Us" for exactly this reason. People tend to think when you become an attorney, they believe that you believe that a lawyer is, or the legal system is the best way to achieve justice, or that's what we're going to do, or you change the system from the inside. But being a lawyer is what shows you, like, which confirms for you is that the law will transform right before your eyes when it's time. If what you're trying to do is get the law to punish white supremacy, because like I said, it's there to uphold and maintain that, because it's not dissimilar from just what happened in Jalen Walker is a black man that was killed in Akron, Ohio last year. He was shot 94 times, and the 8 officers who did it, they returned a no bill in the indictment there. And the attorney general, whose responsibility, the job of the prosecutor, the attorney general presenting a case to the grand jury, is to get them to charge. That is the purpose. They're not there as a neutral person. They are there as people who are trying to get you to charge the case. And yeah, in Jalen Walker, Harris, the attorney general, tells you, oh no, he was going in neutrally. He wasn't trying to get them to charge. And that's what you see happen in cases like this, because they don't want that to happen. It's the same thing how there was a warrant. If decades ago there was a warrant to arrest her and they wouldn't serve it. These things are symbolic. They never intend. They're not going to try and prosecute this woman in the final hours of her life. They're never going to move that way. And so I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all, because the reality is we have a criminal system where the vast majority of our people in our system are poor. They're being charged for things, and they are charged on hearsay. You don't need to, in order to bring charges, all you need to do is say somebody did something. You don't need to prove the case beforehand. That's not how it works. But we see these standards are adopted when it comes to white supremacists committing crimes. It's the same reason why Ralph Yarl, the Andrew Lester, the white man that shot Ralph Yarl, was let go without being arrested until they tell us, oh, they need to talk to the kid who's lucky to be alive to bring the charges. That would never be the case in any other circumstances, but you see them change it. Yes, or Rittenhouse. You see them change it, where suddenly they give these people the opportunity to prove their case or tell you this or what they assert. Their assertion that they're not guilty is treated as fact. Everybody in the criminal system, every black and brown person that's incarcerated pled not guilty. And yet that's not treated. You'll never hear the police say, oh, well, we asked them and they said they didn't do it, or we talked to them and they had a different spin on it, so we let them go. But they change it, it transforms. And that's why you can't look to the system that legitimizes the abuse that you're facing to save you. It's the same reason why Audre Lorde says, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. So I'm not surprised.
Justin, thoughts?
I mean, I that I echo the same sentiments. I agree. I think that the deck is stacked towards people of color. I think that you look, I mean,
even 70 years later, even 70 years later, I just want to add that
70 years, here's the difference. In 70 years now, if somebody goes to somebody's house and rips them out, because probably more so because of social media, there might actually be an arrest. They might actually do something because of that. But the only really difference is between 1955 Mississippi and now Mississippi is that, like Olay said, they would lynch people for sport, for fun. That's something to do because they were bored.
Absolutely.
And you can't do that necessarily now without getting in trouble. Maybe you can. I don't know. I don't live in Mississippi, but no, I think that when you look at the number of black people that are incarcerated, I think when you look at everything that works against people of color, I think that, very little has changed. I mean, again, just because the Civil Rights Act happened, saying that there's equal rights doesn't mean equality, does not mean equity.
Right.
That's very, very true. Let me get this comment here really quick. Damn it, where did it go? There we go. Janine, thank you so much for your comment. As a black American watching this woman not get charged, I guess this woman not getting charged is traumatic. We are not protected. We live like this every day. Yeah, this type of ish happens every day. And that's absolutely true. Yeah, it is traumatic. I think we all three agree on that, that this whole situation here, even 70 years later, it still isn't enough. This woman claims to have, I'm going to show that again. This woman claims to have recanted those allegations about Emmitt Till decades later, and still still we can't get justice. We still can't throw something on her for those false allegations. I mean, obviously now it's over. She gone. Okay, she dead and gone. She gone. But
She's not. She was never remorseful, though. She was never remorseful, because if she was,
it sounded like, at least from that biographer, because we never heard from her. It's not like she went and did a sit-down one-on-one interview. It seemed as if she was trying to cleanse her soul.
I think that is our mistake. That has always felt like something we have projected onto what we believe. We believe if somebody says, you know, oh no, I lied, we take that as an admission, or regretting what they did. But that's just an assertion. To me, I take that as nothing more than an assertion. You know, if she was somebody who were apologetic in all these decades, you don't think she could express that to us? She could tell us you would have heard something in the family? No, never. She's saying she lied, and being willing to say to an autobiographer this late in her life that she lied is not, to me, evidence of the fact that she is sorry for it or she regrets it. I look at it as just, what you gonna do about me? I'm saying it now. Old people, to me, is no different than old people are very honest in their old age about a lot of things. So one thing that one pushback I have about that real quick, because I'm with you 100%. Okay. But we did talk, or I did mention it earlier. There are Nazi generals, etc., that are like centuries old that are catching charges right now. You know, you saw them all showing up with, like, you know, the stuff covering their faces and stuff. You know what I mean? Like the newspapers and stuff. They're not even showing their faces, etc. At these you know, in trial and all that. They're catching charges. So why would this woman think that she can bob and weave? That confident, being like, yeah, I lied. I'll tell you why. Because she's a white woman. When have you seen an example of an elderly white woman of that happening to a white woman? The same way in the legal system, there are very rarely white women. They're very rarely women. Let me just say that, like men to women, like massively outnumber it. But I've represented well over 1,000 something people, and I could count on how many times I've ever seen a white woman in court and what happens and how the legal system affords them in that way. It's the same way. Let's not forget, in these cases, it's not like the legal system never even pretended to dance and get involved when it came to her husband and them. It always did. Even in the days where, even back then, they still like pretended to do a song and dance and trying to, you know, act like they're gonna go about some kind of legal action towards the white men that were involved, but never her. Just like, yes, you will see old white men, old Nazi generals and stuff like that. Yeah. But when have you seen any old white women be hauled into anybody's court? When?
That's
for what?
Martha Stewart. I mean, no, I'm just kidding. No, hold on. Not for taking anybody, not being responsible for taking anybody's life. But
I just mean it's a little bit like there are dynamics there. There's a certain way. Listen, the criminal system has a lot to do with perception. There's a reason, like what juries think, how you look, who different people, how somebody plays on stand, all these different kinds of things. How a man is received and how a man is thought of in a legal system, an elderly, even like an elderly man who was once perceived as a Nazi general, is very different than a woman who was always given the benefit of being looked at like, well, she said it, but she's not the person who did it, and blah, 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 and all these different things. Yeah, to me, it isn't unreasonable that she would feel like, yeah, I'm likely, the odds are, especially think about where she lives, the kinds of things that she's probably seen in her life, the kinds of things that we don't know about. This is the one thing we know about, right? But think about what kind of people, the kind of people she knows, the kind of life that she's lived, the kind of environment and place that she's from, what kind of things she's seen people get away with. Yeah, I think she probably reasonably felt like she'd be fine.
Like she was untouchable, like Heisman Trophy type.
And she was.
I think I think her saying she lied was kind of almost a flex, and yes. I want to go back to the Nazi.
Interesting. Not a thought of sorry, real quick, Justin. Yeah. Not a thought of maybe just cleansing one's soul. Like just saying, hey, I'm about to make my grand exit. I'm about to chuck up the deuces. So let me just say really quick, because I was responsible in part of somebody losing his life. It's sitting here resting on my soul. I know I'm in my 80s, maybe late 70s here. I'm about to make my grand exit out here soon. So let me get right with myself and get right with God and just cleanse my soul. You don't think that may have been a possibility here?
No, I don't, because actions speak louder than words. You can say you're going to do a lot of stuff, but actions speak louder. She never once did anything for the Till Foundation. She never once reached out to, as the biographer, the historian said, he never once reached out to Mamie Till. She never did anything to show that there was any type of remorse. I look at it as as a, yeah, I lied. What are you going to do about it? You know, and I do want to say this too, because you go back to the Nazis, because I think this is important.
Okay.
One of the reasons why 100-year-old Nazis, 90-something-year-old Nazis can still be charged and prosecuted, there's two reasons I think for this. One is the Simon Wiesenthal Center has done a great job over the last several decades hunting down these people and doing it. But the other thing, more importantly, is that Germany, since World War II, has tried everything they could to separate themselves from that era. They have bent over backwards and, you know, completely gone the other way to try to show that they are not those people. The United States has never tried to do that when it came to the atrocities that happened to Black people. Never.
Because America still does it.
Yeah, America still does it. But that's part of it too. The reason why you get a lot more convictions and prosecutions because Germany is willing to do it. America is not.
Man. Do you want to expand on that, Ole?
No. Justin put it excellently. That is beautiful. And I have to hop soon in a minute. That's what I was telling y'all. So no, Justin had it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no. And that's actually perfect timing because, you know, I got to hop off as well. Yes, great conversation, guys. I really do appreciate all y'all for being here and talking with me about this, because I know this is a big story and this is a big deal. At least I think we all agree. I mean, to us, at least, this was a big story and a big deal. But let me just say this then to you. Now that she's passed, now is there still room to grab a little bit of justice? And if there is justice, what does that look like now that she's passed? I'm going to throw it over to you, Ole, real quick.
No, there is no justice. And I think it's important that we need to start defining justice and recognize that justice is what you do to prevent certain things from reoccurring, right? Justice, there would never have been justice for the Till family, but what justice could have looked like for the Black community or Black people would have resulted in us not living in a world present day that looks so similar to the world that existed then. But yet it does, right? We've had all kinds of present day real world examples. So no, the reality is no, there isn't. Not out of this.
Okay, Justin.
I agree. The only thing that they could do to try to maybe save face and make it look like something on the surface is if they wanted to charge her posthumously. You know, I can't say it posthumously.
Posthumously.
Thank you,
yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank y'all. Yeah, they wanted to charge her, but at this point, but again, they've had 70-something years at this point. They've or 70 years. They've chose to not do anything about it. So they're not going to. When she was right there, they could have done it again. Even if it never went to trial, it was just symbolic while she was still alive to show that her actions had some kind of consequences, and they didn't. And if they didn't do it then, they're not going to do it now. And no, I agree. There's no type of justice that could equal what happened to that child. Emmitt was 14 years old. This woman lived to be 88. She got to have a full life.
Right.
That's true.
And he didn't. He was a child.
Yep.
That's true. He didn't get to become a dad, bring children into the world, see life to its final end. He did not get to see anything. He never became the full potential of what he could have been.
Exactly.
Nothing. Gone. He just was taken against his will like that. And it's absolutely devastating. And as far as justice in my mind, I don't know what that entails. Even so, her getting if she was even lucky to get charged and get locked up like we all wanted to see, I don't think that still would have been enough justice for this young kid, for Emmitt Till and his family.
I agree.
So it's really sad all around, and it's a story that we're going to be having with us for the rest forever. This is a story that we will be looking at forever. But guys, I do appreciate you guys for being on here. Really, it really does mean a lot. Real quick, I do want to share you guys' channels and whatnot. So Justin on TikTok, his YouTube channel is the same as his TikTok. Justin on TikTok. Okay, so please go over and check out his YouTube channel. Okay, and of course follow him on TikTok. He's blowing the F up on TikTok as well. Okay. And of course, please go check out Alorinati, right? Alorinati.
Alorinati.
Okay. Laura Nadi, go check that out. She just came out with this with her own YouTube channel, which by the way, I want to say, Olay, about mother loving time. Okay. So I'm happy that she's finally doing the doggone thing. She opened this a few months ago and it's blowing the F up as well. Okay.
Thank you.
So
and I just put out a new
go over there.
video. That one right
Yes.
there, they won't stop at abortion. I put it out literally before I hopped on here, which is why I've been a little bit distracted. So
Oh,
y'all
you
should watch
good.
that.
I just followed you, and we should definitely connect because I talk about these exact same topics. So
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Hit me up and DM me
and
on Twitter. Yes. All right. And Pascal can give you my email too.
okay,
Yes.
well, yeah, I'm a million on TikTok, but I'm slowly growing on YouTube. So
No,
Did you really
okay,
have to do
I don't be
that?
able to
Did
do
you
TikTok.
really have
Yeah.
to do that humble brag, Justin? Did you
Yes.
have to do that?
Yeah.
right?
Wasn't even
Yes,
humble.
you did. Yeah.
I'm proud. I worked hard to get there. I'm proud of that.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Hey, rightfully deserved. That humble brag was definitely deserved. You deserve it as much as anything else. You got some really great content, my brother. And Olay, Justin, both of you guys, thank you so much for coming on and having this tough but needed conversation. I'll see you guys soon, okay?
Thank
Sounds
you.
good.
Bye.
Thanks for having us.
Peace. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate all y'all for being here. Really, I really, really do. Okay. We got to have these tough conversations, guys. We do. And, you know, there will be panelists from time to time that will maybe ruffle some of y'all's feathers. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. Sometimes you just need to hear the harsh truth of things that are going on in the world. Okay. So, and of course, hearing other perspectives. So I appreciate everybody who's been in here talking and all that, and just being respectful, you know, at least putting in your opinion, but also being respectful. The only way we're going to expand, the only way we will be able to transcend as a people is if we start talking and having the tough conversations and be willing to listen. That's it. Willing to listen. Because not every show, not every day is about a missing person story. Not every day. Okay? Sometimes it is every day. But a lot of times it's not. Okay? So I appreciate you guys coming on, chopping it up with me. For those of y'all who did turn up to talk and listen to this show, I appreciate you guys. For those of you guys who are patient and just hearing us out without any prejudice, without any judgment, I thank you for that as well. Again, these kind of conversations need to happen more often. Okay? And there's a lot of amazing people out here that are speaking from the heart because they just want good. They just want change and they just want good. That's it. So hopefully for those of you guys who are watching the replay or watching this again, maybe re-watching it again, hopefully you guys listen and just understand we're coming from a place of love and a place of trying to understand something that happened to somebody 70 years ago. And we are all emotionally attached to that, even though we weren't even there. To me, it just says something about humans and the human condition and how amazing we all are. We're innately good. We innately want everybody to be happy and be peaceful, live a wonderful and peaceful life. So, if you're rewatching this, just remember that. Anyway, guys, I appreciate all y'all for being here. I really do. It takes a lot of balls to sit here and listen. It takes a lot of courage to sit and listen. But sometimes we need to have those tough conversations. And this one was one of those. Okay? So anyway, guys, I appreciate all y'all for being here again for the 15th millionth time that I've said it. Okay? Be sure to hit that like button down below. That would be greatly appreciated. Hit that like button. And most definitely be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And of course, if you're interested in supporting the channel, by all means, hit that join button down below. And I really do appreciate all the super chats that I've been receiving. I really do appreciate it. We were so deep in the conversation, wasn't able to pull those all up. But hey, you know, when we get into the thick of things, sometimes it's hard to pull those things up. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys have a wonderful weekend. I might be doing another live or a pop-up in a little while, but be on the lookout for it. Other than that, okay? Otherwise. Okay. Anyway, it's time to get going. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. This is the Pascal Show. Bye.